Welcome to Perspective. Ben Makowiti is my guest tonight. You're very much welcome. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
So we'll start with the analysis in Kilifi. And of course, as you noticed there, most of the members are elected on an ODM ticket. But as it is right now, are affiliating themselves to Jubilee. And of course, there are several factors to talk about, particularly talking about the Mijikenda. And looking at the Mijikenda as occupying major counties inside the coast, you're looking at Mombasa, Kilifi, as well as Kwale. The question would only be, is there a revolution by the Mijikenda, perhaps going against code?
That's a very good perspective to look at it.
Yeah.
But again, you know, if you look at the number of votes that Uhuru Kenyatta got against Raila Amolo Odinga in 2013,
yes,
I would really think that in one of the debates that featured presidential candidates,
yes, it was a question of land.
There was a question of land. And the cost, every time they do an election, they would only want to elect a leader who will address the land issue.
Yeah.
And Raila Odinga, who was the more visible opponent to Uhuru Kenyatta,
Of course, garnering 84%.
yes, he was the prime minister in the previous government.
Yeah.
And he had, I don't know why they were so sure that he would help them deal with the land issue, but most likely it's because there are a lot of land issues that were linked to Uhuru Kenyatta. And they were not so sure in cost that Uhuru Kenyatta will sort out the issue of land. And by what he has done today, he has provided and given the people of coast title deeds against all odds. And it will be a hard battle to Raila Amolo Odinga, who was the prime minister, who had James Orengo, the minister for lands, and did not even issue one single title deed to people from Mombasa or from coast region. The number of votes that he did, and especially the people of Mijikenda, who have always been yearning for the ownership of land titles, it could actually be a real revolution.
So could it be that then this revolution is being occasioned by the fact that perhaps they feel that the government has addressed the land question, and that is why perhaps they would be moving to Jubilee?
Yes. It is because the government has addressed the land question. Uhuru Kenyatta did not promise much when he was on that debate or even before elections. But you see, sometimes action speaks louder than words. He has acted against all odds. And ODM will find it a very hard nut to crack in coast going into next year's elections, based on what the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta and the government of Uhuru Kenyatta has done as regards issues land in the coast region.
All right, and of course the politics in the coast has pitted the Mijikenda versus the Arabs, so as you would say. And the question would be, what will be the place of a Mijikenda moving forward as they occasion this revolution, perhaps led by one Gideon Mungaro and the rest, including Peter Shea? The question would be, as we move towards 2017, the war pitting Arabs and Mijikenda, how do you think it will shape up?
One, I think Gideon Mungaro is a very significant Mijikenda leader in Kilifi. And even if you look at the tally of votes, he had the highest number of voters. That means he's a leader that people can listen to, and when he also suggests a direction, people can follow. So for ODM to have lost Gideon Mungaro, they can only put on a hard face, but it's a very big pain. If Gideon Mungaro can tell the people of coast, and especially the Mijikenda, who are the majority, that this government means well for us, and then they move into the government, then they can win all seats. Because Arabs have always been the minority in that region. And any Arab who has led coast has always led coast with the massive support of the Mijikenda. So if the Mijikenda move away, they can win any seat that they yearn for, be it the governorship of Mombasa, be it the governorship of Kilifi. They will take all those seats.
From the presentation we had there, you notice that parties from the coast, Chama cha Uzalendo, you have Kadu Wasili, you have Shirikisho, had a sizable number, you would argue so, of MCAs, and including some of them actually making it to have MPs elected on their party. Jubilee has already dissolved, or rather affiliate parties of Jubilee have dissolved to form the Jubilee Party. But then none of these parties actually dissolved to form Jubilee? Does it form a logistical nightmare for Jubilee to deal with this? And what needs to happen, particularly for the leadership of the likes of Gideon Mungaro? How will they convince their people to decamp from these parties and perhaps join a party that has a bigger national outlook?
The converse to that question is whether they are members of God. If they are not members of God, then they hold their own free will to join the party that will articulate their issues or to work with the party that will articulate their needs.
Do you feel, or perhaps from where you sit, because most of the comments have been the likes of Gideon Mungaro and Mustafa
articulate their issues or to work with the party that will articulate their needs.
Do you feel, or perhaps from where you sit, because most of the comments have been the likes of Gideon Mungaro and Mustafa Idi, it just moved into Jubilee without moving with the population. Again, even though, you would say then the Mijikenda are allied towards Jubilee, but then there's a feeling of a gap in terms of how the Mijikenda want their issues articulated and how the likes of Gideon Mungaro are articulating the issue, and bearing in mind again that Mungaro wants to be governor for Kilifi County.
You know, if the issue of land is sorted out in Kilifi, and the issue of land has been sorted out by the government that Gideon Mungaro is affiliating himself to, he will move with a lot of people. And he will also campaign on the platform that this government means well for us. There is an example that they are giving us title deeds. And title deeds are a very significant asset in a family because it gives you the capacity to acquire loans. It gives you the capacity to bargain with an investor. It gives you ownership. There's something that you can transfer to the next generation. So the person who owns that title deed will never make noise, but he has made a decision of who they will cast their votes to. They will never joke with that. And if those title deeds are numerous in numbers, and I'm so sure a lot of title deeds have been handed to the residents of Coast, those are votes that belong to the person who gave those title deeds. And no one can have an excuse that we've never been there. Raila was there, and Orengo, his biggest stalwart, was the Minister for Lands. If they did not achieve it during 5 years, Uhuru has achieved it in less than 3 years. By the way, people should also need to understand that the government of Jubilee took around 2 years sorting out the issues of ICC. They were never settled, they have never worked. So within 1.5 active years in administration, they've given almost 100,000 plus title deeds to Mombasa. They have also already given more than 2 million title deeds across the whole country. Anybody that has acquired a title deed through this administration or this regime, they will never go to rallies.
All right, let's move this conversation forward and talk about the corruption scandals that have hit Kilifi County. 51 million shillings alleged loss, and of course you've seen officers of that county being taken to court. But then there are fears that there could be a loss of about 1.2 billion from the county. And I want us to talk about national politics, that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was in Kilifi and actually asked the Jubilee government perhaps to borrow a leaf from the county governor, Amason Jeffer Kingi, in terms of how he had cracked down on corruption. But the question would be, this perceived defense of Jefferson Kingi, how does it dent the image of Raila Odinga as a presidential candidate?
First of all, as a leader who has always, campaigned on the platform of anti-corruption, I think Raila Odinga is in a dilemma. When it comes to matters corruption, he is facing a lot of challenges because most of the leadership of the counties are called leadership. And when he went to Mombasa, he is on record saying that he picked around 21 air tickets from the governor of Mombasa. As who? One would want to ask. Air tickets are bought by the, were they Joho's gifts, or they were bought by someone, by the public money? Going to Kilifi, I don't know what Amason Jeffer Kingi did that would really indicate that he deserves any praise. He does not have arresting authority, It must still have been the central government who must have acted. And we have to separate two issues. One, the 51 million lost in Kilifi is actually lost to fraud. It's not corruption. The issues about corruption are around audit queries. There are so much money that have been spent that there are no documents that authenticate
a lot of
those
inaccuracies even in the documents provided.
Yes. And it will be hard for the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, to defend any county government leader who is mired in corruption. He would rather just sit back and say, please, clean your mess, because we are likely going to go for an election on a zero corruption agenda. If you are not supposed to be our candidate. And that's the dilemma he's facing. Most of the governors are the same people who have been sponsoring Raila Amolo Odinga. Because when he goes to Mombasa, where does he sleep? When he sleeps in Kilifi or in Malindi, that must be at the expense of the people.
Let's be fair to the gentleman, because he's not here to defend himself. Let's be fair to the gentleman and move this conversation
No, but he has admitted that he picked air tickets from Mombasa. But so what did he pick from Kilifi?
But he didn't admit that he was sleeping in hotels.
Okay, I'm being fair to himself. Withdraw that.
But let's be fair to the gentleman, because he's not here to defend himself. But very quickly move this conversation to the counties, and that is where Kingi is vis-a-vis Gideon Mungaro, who is likely to beat the other if we go head-to-head.
It will also depend.
Of course, bearing these corruption allegations on the head of Kingi.
It will depend also on what Kingi has done to the people of Kilifi. If a lot of money has been misappropriated and there is no tangible development project that Kingi can identify with, all the monies that have gone to Kilifi, then he will face a rejection. And then Mungaro will have an advantage citing what the central government has done to the people in terms of title deed. But if Kingi did work for the people of Kilifi, you know, despite all those issues of corruption, but they are deliverables, then I think it will still be a battle royale. But there's no way we can underrate.
And former cabinet secretary, that is Kazungu Kambi, is also actually putting his hat in the ring. Does he stand a chance in Kilifi?
I don't know the kind of networks he has put on the ground. And again, how that will play with the tribal arithmetic is also still open up for debate. If the Mijikenda is fronting one candidate, then that one candidate is going to win. But if it's the other clans within the Mijikenda, you know, if all of them come from the same tribe, then the dominant clan is still going to play a very big role there. But on the agenda of delivery, if Kingi failed, then Danson,
Gideon
Mungaro has a big chance to upstage Amason Jeffa Kingi as the governor of Kilifi.
The 2017 results, looking at most of the MPs again elected on an ODM ticket, but now leaning towards Jubilee. So could we say that perhaps in 2017 we expect a shift to see perhaps a majority coming in through the Jubilee party?
You know, when MPs decide to defect, they must have also done their homework. They move with the people. And I can just give you an example. You know, when Ababu Namwamba defected from ODM, you see, the ODM brigade camped in Budalangi or in Western region for more than 4 days to just firefight, to make sure that they don't lose their stronghold. But look at Lamu. The governor of Lamu, which is a whole county with the largest number of votes, defected. But they've not even gone there. What does that tell you? They have already lost hope. They are not so sure whether they are going to get Lamu, whether they are going to get Kwale. And back to Kilifi, Mustafa Idi defected, Amason Gideon Mungaro defected. If the people follow them to the government, then we are likely going to see a very big shift in representation. And cost will not necessarily be an ODM, you know, an opposition stronghold.
Let's move this to the doctor's strike very quickly in about 2 minutes and discuss that, because right now people are at crossroads. And the question is, where do we direct our fingers in terms of blame? Is it the county governments failing us? Is it the national government failing?
That's a catch-22. And it's a very sad situation for the country because a lot of people are sick and they need medical attention. And you will realize that 2 days or 3 days later, we will have quite a number of cases, death cases, which will be very sad.
They have already reported I think today, 2 casualties.
Because of negligence. And this is not the first time that we are also seeing doctors on the streets. Unfortunately, doctors have always been in the comfort zone. the people who have always been known to strike or be on the streets have been the teachers. And during the time that the new constitutional dispensation was being negotiated, the teachers, in smartness of their battles, decided that they will remain at the national,
at the national level.
So KNUT and KUPPET are national level institutions. They can negotiate with national institutions. And that's why we are seeing a lot of harmony. We've just read in the news that already there's about 51 billion that the government has factored in
to go towards paying teachers.
Because it has been negotiated by the national body. But health was devolved. When it was devolved, the union for the doctors did not negotiate to remain at the national level.
And the question would be, because this agreement was signed between doctors and the national government before devolution. So what are you looking at here? As you call it a catch-22 situation. But the question would be, where do we direct our blame? Because it's the national government that signs this deal with the doctors, and then the health function is devolved, so there's no implementation.
Events overtake situations.
Is it?
Yes. You know, events overtake situations. That negotiation has been overtaken by events. And that's why you have seen, much as we are talking of a national strike, there's no strike in Bomet.
All right.
There's no strike in Kwale.
So there are counties that are managing the health function. And
they're actively involved in managing their health functions. And even if you saw it today, the people who have taken the lead to deal with the crisis in the health is the Council of Governors. Because they're accepting responsibility.
All right.
There's no way the doctors are going to fight to come back to the national government when their functions have been
Unless
devolved.
they want to subject us to a referendum.
Yes.
Makowiti, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Your analysis, very much appreciated. That's how we close Perspective. Regina Manyara Gitao is up next with business.